What up?
What are
We are DV. And today is gonna be Monday, March. I know I keep saying February. March 8th, 2025.
I don't think today's March 8th. I think it's like the 9th or the 10th.
No, it's gotta be the 9th.
Yeah, it's the 9th.
Yeah, it's the 9th.
Anyway,
For sure. No, it's the 10th. Today's March 10th.
March 10th, guys.
Jeez Louise.
All right.
So yeah, that's that.
Monday, March 10th.
Monday, March 10th.
And what we're going to talk about today is about accountability, right? Accountability.
Right.
And what really made me want to talk about this was because I see so many people not taking accountability, right? Specifically about a statistic that I saw. I think it's 74% of people, the statistic that 74% of people have a problem with taking responsibility for something that they are responsible for, something they caused or something like that. They don't want to take responsibility for it. That's a fact. 74% of people.
Statistical fact.
Right. So that's a trip. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that sounds like a huge issue, right? That many people out of 100% are unwilling to take responsibility for their shit. You know, that's crazy. So you can do your research on that. But when I saw that, that made me want to never have a conversation about that because I see it every day in work life. I see it every day in just social life, right? I even see it in myself, sometimes. So let's talk about it. What is accountability, right? Accountability, for me, is about, like we said, taking responsibility for something that, at least self-accountability. We're talking about self-accountability. It's just as simple as that. Taking responsibility for something that you know you're either the cause of or something that you're in charge of, right? Which kind of plays into leadership, which is why it's important. Why is accountability important? Because it plays into this, leadership skills and success, really. You know what I mean? Once again, one other ingredient that you cannot pass over, that you cannot skimp out on this road to success and self-improvement. Can't do without it.
Yeah. It's a quality of success, accountability, self-accountability.
Right.
By having self-accountability, it's a person who holds themselves accountable. To me, in my opinion, is someone who is a little bit more in control of themselves, a little bit more balanced, a little bit more focused, because they're more in tune with themselves because they hold themselves accountable.
Exactly.
They know they're holding themselves accountable because they know that they are the one steering the wheel.
Right.
They're the one that's creating the causes. You are the effect. You see what I'm saying? You are the effect and you're the cause.
Right.
That is what it means to be holding yourself accountable on a higher level.
Right.
More so spiritually speaking, I would say. But there's even levels just holding yourself accountable as opposed, like in terms of like, say maybe at your job, your title is director. If you're the director, your job is, so what comes with being a director? That means you probably got to be a little bit more organized than everybody else.
Exactly.
You have to be on time. You have to be earlier than someone else.
Right.
If you make a mistake and misdirect someone, you don't blame the person that was misdirected. You're holding yourself accountable for what you were supposed to be doing. So you didn't pass that. You didn't do that very well.
Right.
They're misguided now because of you.
Right.
But that's what holding yourself accountable means. You know that the reason why they're misguided is because you gave them some bad guidance.
Right.
Because you're not on point.
Right.
That's self-accountability in terms of like professionalism, stuff like that. You know what I mean? If you're a small business and you are a delivery guy and someone got the wrong delivery, whose problem is that? For one, it's your problem. Second of all, whose fault is that? Second, it's your fault because you're the one in charge. It's your delivery service. You missed a step. You missed a detail, somehow delivered it to the wrong person. You acknowledge that. So now you do something about it. You choose to do something different so you can be better at your job. That's self-accountability in business. That's just an example.
Right. Yeah, and speaking of example, because I see it all the time where, let's say, I won't name any names of the business, but we'll say business A, right, has employees who make deliveries.
Right.
Right. Now that out of those 3 employees, 1 employee misdelivered a package. Now, what you don't do, and what's not taking accountability, example of it is that this business A does. It says, well, that's the customer's fault because they weren't home when that package got delivered. No, at the end of the day, your job is to make sure a delivery gets to that client.
Right.
So instead of blaming that client, regardless, if anything, I was almost gonna say, what business A will do is blame the employee that you hired.
Right.
Right. If you're gonna blame anybody, blame the employee that you hired. Still not really blaming the employee. You just take responsibility now, saying, "Hey, as a business, I made a mistake in hiring this person who made that bad delivery."
Yeah. Because
instead of blaming that client, you know what I mean?
Because the employee's responsibility is the packages.
Right.
Your responsibility is the employee.
Right.
As the person that's running the business.
Yeah, the employer.
Yeah.
The employer employed the wrong person to get the job done. Yeah. So instead of blaming that client or even blaming the employee, you blame yourself because you employed that person to get the job done and they did not get the job done.
That's
so you were a bad judge of a character, if anything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Of work ethic. You were a bad judge of that. So business A, what they should have done instead of blaming the client or blaming the employee, should have just said, "Hey, it's my fault as a business owner. I hired the wrong person." That is accountability, right? And a lot of businesses aren't doing that these days. I see it all the time. You know, it's always looking to place the blame on somebody.
Yeah, they call that passing the buck off.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
As a case manager, when I worked at a company for 10 years, I seen that all the time. Everybody around me, even higher management, was always trying to blame somebody else, saying, "Nah, that was on me. I'll take the responsibility for it." You know, but I've seen it all the time, and I do think we lack that as a society. I think that maybe even in this country, you know, I see that all the time. I think we lack a lot of self accountability. Another reason why self accountability is important is because it brings trust. It brings trust. When you work with somebody or you're around somebody who takes responsibility for what they're responsible for, doesn't that bring trust to you? It makes me trust the person. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I can trust them to say, "Hey, they're gonna take charge in a situation." You know what I mean? As opposed to hiding from a situation, trying to dodge a situation. You know, I think that works with business and it works in just general life. You know, do you want a partner? Do you want a life partner as a girlfriend, boyfriend, or whatever? Do you want a partner who blames you for everything or blames life for everything, or do you want a partner that says, "Hey, I'm gonna take the responsibility for this, and that's watch." You know, that way. And matter of fact, another reason why to be accountable is that way you can figure out what went wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How do you fix a problem if you're blaming everybody for what went wrong?
Yeah, you can't really get down to the actual. First of all, you can't get to the actual cause of the problem because you're busy passing the buck off on someone else.
Right.
You can't really get to it, and you can't really solve it because you don't know what the real issue is.
Right.
You know, another term for being a person who is accountable, self accountability, is what they use is a term called a stand up. He's a stand up person. Yeah, I'm a stand up guy. I'm a stand up woman.
Right.
You know what that means is someone, quite frankly, who stands up. Meaning you choose to own up to your life, own up to whatever mistake or whatever good thing you did. You're not gonna shy away from that. You own it. Basically,
good or bad.
Good or bad, you own it.
Right.
You know, it's like when when we were kids and we got caught stealing that kid's cookies out of his lunch bag, and the teacher was like, "Who stole so and so's cookies?" Well, main reason the guilt got to me, but I knew that. Damn it, I gotta tell it. We stood up. I did it. God damn it.
Right.
Them cookies was good as hell.
Embarrassing as it was.
It was embarrassing, but I knew damn well. It was like everything in me said, "Hey, look, I did that shit." I saw his pain. I was like, "All right, now this nigga ain't got no cookies. He's crying and shit." Right. And the teacher asked who did it, and I was like, "Fuck it, now we gotta tell."
Right.
I was stood up. Right. So we took accountability even then. As a little kid, took accountability for our actions.
Right.
You know, good or bad. That is what they call a stand up. You know what I mean? Right or wrong. You know.
Here's another good example of something that's going on with me with just right now. I got a toothache right here, right? It's kind of swollen a little bit. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, how am I still having issues with like teeth and shit like that? Not a lot, but sometimes every now and then I do. And at first I just wanted to be like, oh, it's just one of the things that happen, man, you know? And then I thought about it a little more and I was like, that's not true. If I really want to be really honest with myself, if I really want to take accountability, self accountability, it's really because I've known that I've had small issues in the past with this tooth, but I ignored it. I chose not to go to the dentist when I had a dentist, and I chose not to go to the dentist and have it fixed when it was less of a problem. I skipped it. I even skipped some appointments. So, fast forward, here we are now, where it's grown, it's become worse of a problem now. It's become a bigger issue. And the reason why is because, I didn't take accountability for the small problem that has now become a bigger problem. Which leads into another thing. Why it's important to be accountable is because if you don't take care of your business will take care of you. Handle life, or life will handle you, right? Meaning, if you don't do it, it'll solve itself. But in the process, it may not look so good. It may not be so pretty when it takes care of itself, right? So, yeah, that's one good example right there that, I tried to blame, other outside sources, but the reality is this is my life, this is my body, so I had to take responsibility, and which is what I'm doing right now, knowing that the reason a small problem became bigger because my lack of self-accountability, right? So that's what I'm saying. Lack of self-accountability from small things can grow bigger. You can prevent small things becoming bigger by just being accountable, for things. You know what I mean? Take responsibility for what the situation is at that moment.
He's speaking in regards to issues, problems,
Right.
obstacles.
Right.
And if you nip it in the bud, so to speak, catch it at an early stage, you deal with it right when you notice it, it won't grow into a bigger problem.
No.
Yeah, and that's from being accountable, holding yourself accountable. What are some other roles in life that require self-accountability?
Let's just talk about, I'm not a father, but I understood how fatherhood works.
Parenthood,
And
fatherhood,
parenthood, you know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
As a parent, you have these children that you created.
right.
That you created. They did not ask to be born. You chose to create them.
Yeah.
So with that said, that's a responsibility of yours now. You can't blame your kid because you never have money anymore because you always got to spend money to feed them, to keep them clothed. They got field trips and health stuff that they need you to take care of. Now I've seen some really bad parents who just be like, I wish, it's your fault, blame the kid for all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, that's crazy. If you were self accountable, you would realize the kid didn't ask for none of that. You chose to make this kid, so you knew what came with the kid, and if you did, even still, that's your fault because you should have done the research on what it takes to actually be a parent, what it takes to fucking, what it takes to having children. Because that's why some people don't do it, because maybe they realize they don't want to take that responsibility for it. And even that's self-accountable though, because at least they're saying, hey, I understand that I'm not one of the person who really wants that responsibility, so I'm not going to do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But the people who do it, I feel like, and who blame the kid for, all the things that come with the expenses that come with having the children, or the time that it takes away and all that kind of stuff, the sacrifice it takes, you're not being self-accountable. And I feel like to be a parent, you have to be big time when it comes to, you have to be strongly connected to self-accountability.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the things in life. If you're going to be a parent, pay attention to that.
Mainly because, in my opinion, why parents have to is because the kid is watching you. They're not watching they're not really too much tripping off what you say. Reality is they're going to learn from what they watch you do.
Right.
Or not do. So that's why, as a parent, I think it's so important to be accountable, to have self-accountability.
Right.
Because you're teaching that to your kid. They're watching you. Right. If they see you as the type of person who makes mistakes in life and doesn't own up to it, they're eventually going to pick that up. They're going to do the same thing.
And guess what you're doing?
You're creating that same pattern, the same way of being.
More adults the same way.
I mean, in my opinion, that's why some dudes, I think, end up like when they, in particular, when some men who choose to run away from the responsibility of having a kid and not acknowledge it, not deal with it, not try to help raise their kid, or raise it at all, I think those are dudes, sometimes from what I've noticed, the pattern I realized, people in general, but I'm just saying, because since I'm a dude and a father, I noticed that some of those dudes, you'll find that in their experience, in terms of their relationship with their father, is either non-existent or they've been abandoned at an early age. And that's because I don't know, whatever reason, but what that does psychologically, in my opinion, is teaches that person, that man, when he grows up, well, shit, my dad didn't wasn't around, so I ain't really got to do it. I'm okay, because you justify it. You make it make sense to you, because you go, well, I'm all right. You know what I'm saying? But 8 times out of 10, most men, when they really sit down and grow up and talk about it and think about it, they realize I wasn't okay. You know. Now I had my dad in my life. You know what I mean? It wasn't perfect, but he was there my whole life. You know what I mean?
Right.
But so I knew when I had, in terms of regards to being accountable, I knew once I had my daughter, there was the idea of running or not and trying to escape responsibility. It was not a thing. You know what I mean? I was like, I was scared, yeah, but I was like, I'm not gonna, that wasn't my thing about running from my problems, because my dad didn't do that. He didn't show us that. He stayed and raised us, and it wasn't easy either. He was a single parent. Right. So the idea of not being accountable for my actions or holding myself accountable was not a thing. He wouldn't let us.
Right.
Growing up.
So being unaccountable is really can be taught.
Right.
It's taught a lot of times too.
It can. That's why I think it's a virtue that can be learned, and I was trying to think of another word for that, but like incorporated into your personality or just life. It's a discipline.
Right.
Yeah,
it takes practice.
It does.
For sure. You're not going to just grow up and be born with it. You know what I'm saying? Something you have to put into practice, right, and you get better at it as time goes. Mm-hmm. I'm 40 years old now, and it's still not something that I've perfected by any means. Yeah. But every day I work at it, including, even like I said, even doing these videos on a day-to-day basis is a part of taking self-accountability, because, I could not do it. Mm-hmm. I could not be consistent. But this is all part of putting this stuff into practice. Mm-hmm. Us doing these videos, along with connecting with you, is a part of teaching myself, holding myself accountable, teaching myself to be accountable. Yeah. On a consistent basis. Consistent basis, right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in terms of accountability, what are some ways that having the lack of accountability can hurt you?
Oh, for one, like off the rip, I think about how people distrust you. Mm-hmm. They look at you as a flake. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? They distrust you, and it almost gives people a feeling like you throw them under the bus. You know what I mean? When you knew it was your job and your responsibility, but you put it off on them. Mm-hmm. No one wants to be around someone like that. You know what I'm saying? Think about it.
It can cause you to lose people's trust.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't help in team building either. No. Like, it doesn't make the other people that's working with you feel like, it doesn't help them feel any more secure. Right. You know what I mean? Like, if something goes wrong, they can't really count on you to not only not know the answers or the solution to how to fix it, but to even really do anything about it at all.
Exactly.
Because that's the pattern you've had. Right. You know what I mean?
It really just messes with people's trust is what it does.
Right, yeah. Right. Yeah.
For sure.
It definitely doesn't help build your character at all. You know what I'm saying?
So right. So that's another thing. It leaves a negative taste in people's mouth when it comes to your character.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
People don't trust
you. And you want to try to present yourself the best way possible in everything you do. Right. You know what I mean? No, that doesn't mean be perfect or try to be somebody you're not. It just means try to show up the best you can in every step you take. That's part of being accountable. Right. You are accountable for you and your life, nobody else. So whatever you do in life, you should do it from a point of power. You should do it from a place of surety, of clarity. You know what I mean? Confidence. But that comes with owning yourself. That's why we're talking about accountability today. Right. Owning yourself, your actions, your thoughts, you know what I mean? Your reactions, all that. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, just own it. Don't put it off on someone else, because every time you do that, you're taking away from your own power and giving that to someone else and saying that they own you now. Right. But you own you, nobody else. So look, we talked about accountability today. We talked about the reasons why you should be accountable. Hold yourself accountable. We talked about
also the things that can go wrong if you aren't accountable. Yeah. Right? And like I said, these things are all across the board. Like whether it comes to your social life or just for yourself. You know what I mean? Or in your business. You know, mm-hmm. It's all across the board when it comes to that. These will affect all those things if you're not accountable or if you are accountable. Yeah. And like I said, one thing I want to continue to keep pushing is that this is not an overnight. It's not an overnight thing. You're not born with it. You have to put it into practice every single day, every single moment, right?
Yeah. The moment you try to blame somebody else for something that you did, that mistake you made, check yourself. Who owns you or do they own you?
Right.
You own you. So
don't give away your power.
don't give your power away to some bullshit thinking weak or thinking small. Own your shit.
Right.
It's okay to make a mistake. Try again next time. Then own that one too. That's all we talking about. These all these. If you got any thing to add, and if you agree with us and been through what we've been through, got anything from these insights, please share, please like, please comment, let us know.
Right.
We came here to connect with y'all. We just two dudes going through life, trying to be better than we were today than we were yesterday. So if I know you guys can relate, holla back.
Right.
Yeah, man. Like I said, we're DV. I love you. And I also love myself. But you should love yourself for yourself. Peace.
Yeah.